Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night News with Going D Now. Look who I've got back in the co-anchor chair with me. I'm so happy she's here.
I'm so excited to be back.
Yeah, I love doing it with Toby as well, but you're the OG, so I'm.
Well, no, I'm the second G, really.
You're the second G, yeah. Okay, you're second G. We'll do second G. There you go. But anyway, I'm Joe Compton,
and I'm Venessa Giunta,
and we've got a great show for y'all. We've got a really good, good stories out there, and Nita's here. Oh, Vanessa's breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
Margaret's here. Hi, yes, you made it, Margaret. Right on time.
It's weird. My breaking the fourth wall is kind of weird because I actually typed something in, but the typing didn't go through. Sure. It is weird. I didn't have enough time to mess with it.
You just came up with an emoji happy face.
Yeah, I had 2 smileys and 2 sentences, and all I got was 1 smiley. So clearly, YouTube has issues with me.
All right. So we've got a really good story to start us off with, and I'm going to let Venessa start us, and then I'm going to jump in with it because I did actually have some contribution to this story a little bit. But Venessa, why don't you start and tell us all about our top story tonight?
Okay, we're going to be talking about Amazon because, of course, we are. So those of us who publish through Amazon are familiar with Kindle Unlimited. And in order to be in Kindle Unlimited, you have to sign up for KDP Select. And to do this, you have an exclusivity agreement with Amazon, right? And you get special perks. So this has to do with Amazon and book piracy. When Amazon launched the first Kindle 15 years ago, book piracy was already a common problem. But today, book piracy is easier and more widespread than ever. It has reached a point where the highest echelons of U.S. law enforcement stepped in to tackle this issue with a crackdown on Z Library, you might remember from November of last year. Thus far, it hasn't achieved really any results. The frustrations of publishers and authors is understandable. Many of us see our books being openly shared for free just hours after they hit the stores. And this isn't limited to bestsellers either. This affects smaller independent authors as well. And in the midst of this drama, Amazon is being Amazon. They're making things worse. Generally speaking, the company has given us so many opportunities as authors because of the accessibility of self-publishing options and the promotional features that they give us access to. And of course, this includes KDP Select, which is where you get to Kindle Unlimited. As part of the KDP Select agreement, as I mentioned, authors promise to make digital versions of their books exclusive to Amazon. And that, again, comes with perks, with the ability to schedule promotions and different things like that, and get paid by the page read versus a full ebook sale. However, this exclusivity rule isn't just that you can't upload to Kobo or Barnes & Noble or Smashwords. It also means that it can't be available anywhere digitally, and that includes pirate sites. And Amazon's current agreement hasn't been updated since January 13th of this year, and that update was just for royalty changes. So over the past few weeks, several authors have complained that Amazon have removed their books from Kindle Unlimited because they violated the KDP Select agreement. The privacy angle is front and center, raising piracy, not privacy. The piracy angle is front and center, raising plenty of questions and creating a lot of uncertainty, quite frankly. Raven Kennedy, who is known for the Plated Prisoner series, took her frustration to Instagram earlier this month, where she accused Amazon of sending repeated threats. This eventually resulted in the removal of her books from Kindle Unlimited, ostensibly because they were listed on pirate sites. Quote, copyright infringement is outside of my control. Even though I pay a lot of money to a company to file takedown notices on my behalf, and I'm constantly checking the web for pirated versions, I can't keep up with all the intellectual theft. Rather than help and support their authors, Amazon threatens me. The ironic thing is, these pirates are getting the files from Amazon. Unquote. A similar experience was shared by Carissa Broadbent, who is the author of the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. Again, Amazon removed a book from Kindle Unlimited for an issue that the author can't do very much about. Quote, a few hours ago, I got a stomach-dropping email from Amazon that Children of Fallen Gods had been removed from the Kindle store with zero warning because of content, quote, freely available on the web, i.e. piracy, that I do not have any control over, she noted. These and other authors received broad support from their readers and sympathy from the general public. A Change.org petition launched in response has collected over 35,000 signatures as of this broadcast, with new ones still coming in. I signed it. Author Marlo Locker started the petition to send a wake-up call to Amazon. According to her, Amazon should stand behind its authors instead of punishing them for the fact that complete strangers have decided to pirate their books. Most authors will gladly comply with the exclusivity requirements, but only as far as this lies within their control. Piracy clearly isn't, especially when it happens on an almost industrial scale. Quote, currently many automated systems use Amazon as a place to copy the e-files that they use for their free websites. It's completely absurd that the same company turns around and punishes an author by removing their book from KDP Select, the petition reads. From the commentary seen online, several authors have been able to resolve their issues with Amazon, and the books of Broadbent and Kennedy both appear to be back online. That said, the exclusivity policy remains in place. Our very own Joe Compton reached out to Amazon for a comment from them. So, Joe, why don't you go ahead and let us know what they said?
Sure. Their quote was very similar to the Torrent Freak article that spawned all this investigativeness. They did a really great job of combing through that. That was most of what they did, what we were just talking about. And so when I reached out to Amazon, they actually responded to me real quickly. I was surprised. I was thinking we weren't going to get it. Luckily we had to delay our show a week, and I got it like that Friday afternoon. So it was really great. So we would have had it anyway, but it was interesting. But this is their direct quote. We have met with several publishers and our engineers to look into the matter further, and it continues to be looked into at this time. We want to stress that the removal from Kindle Unlimited is not removal from Amazon, and authors can contact Amazon upon receipt of removal and discuss with us directly any issues on their accounts. Piracy is an issue we take very seriously, and our aim as a trusted source is to protect not just our consumer, but our sellers, which of course includes authors. Anyone who discovers their book on a pirate site should contact us immediately and directly and make us aware and take corrective action with that site. The problem is, of course, that the individual authors can't all stop every single piracy that's out there. As we've been noting, it's easy for most authors. If it was easy for most authors, they would be happy to do it. However, if billion-dollar publishing companies and the U.S. government can't stop it, Amazon can't expect independent authors to resolve the matter either. And Torrent Freak recommends that it would make more sense for Amazon to update its KDP Select policy to exclude pirate sites from the
Exclusivity rule.
Thank you. With piracy being as rampant as it is, no title can ever guarantee to be piracy free ever. Yes, that is very true. And perhaps it's a good idea to use all the vocal and social media savvy authors have as an asset to educate the broader public on piracy, hence why we made it our top story tonight. And yeah, it's there's so much to unpack here, really.
Mhm.
Um, Starting with the idea that Amazon doesn't have a filtering system for these kind of things already in place that they can just simply apply to authoring. But they refuse to do that because it messes with the algorithms that they've created for everything else that they're doing, which is their right. It is their site. They can do what they want and how they want to do it. But not doing anything. And that quote they gave me was as bland and as
It was CYA.
non-transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
as
just
as
CYA.
yeah, as
Mhm.
as as Amazon has been throughout every process that we've had with the authors and publishers. And look, you're gonna have problems. You know, a site this big and the thing that we all use, we're all going to have our own separate issues with things. But this is an issue that is got to be addressed. It has to be addressed by Amazon directly because if they don't address it, they're going to, the stock and flow of authors leaving is getting bigger and bigger as the day goes along anyway, but it's going to get worse. And they've screwed up the audiobook aspect of things. Now they're screwing this up, and as we will talk about in our next story, ebooks are a big important part of the independent author's journey. And so this is a really big thing for them to kind of address because this is how they got started. This is their bread and butter.
Mhm.
They made it because of ebooks.
Well, I don't think they probably see it that way because we are now a very
Yeah.
small, I mean, we are a very small aspect of Amazon now. I mean, they're doing prescription drugs and doctor's appointments now. So like they've gone very far afield from the publishing industry. But,
Yeah.
Amazon started with books. They started with paperback books back in the day. And so it made sense for them to embrace this new technology and create this space. And the Amazon digital book aspect of their company is unique to the rest of their company. And they have to understand that they cannot always rely on the tools that work for everything else to work with that. There's no other part of their business that requires exclusivity with Amazon. Only Kindle Unlimited, only KDP Select. There's nothing else. If you're selling widgets, if you're selling clothes, if you're selling this or that, there is no, there's no exclusivity needed. And also, you're not pirating. Like they do try to crack down. They don't do a very good job of it always, but they do try to crack down on like fake brands and stuff like that are sold on Amazon.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to do that for us. And the idea that these pirates actually host the files on the Amazon system on their, I'm assuming the what is it, A3W or whatever it is. I don't
Uh-huh.
remember what it is, like they actually host on the Amazon site for the people to download the pirated books.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I will point out in their agreement though, and I think a lot of this also stems from the idea that you don't read the agreements often enough too. But in the agreement, when I was combing through it, it does actually say that you are responsible for anything that happens that is out of Amazon's control in the agreement itself. So
Mhm.
they put the onus on the
Yes.
author, but it's just super impossible it's super impossible for random penguin house to I'm just gonna keep calling it that for random penguin penguin random house to monitor this. How do you think a guy putting out
Sitting
ebooks,
in his apartment
right,
trying to write his books.
right,
Right. Yeah.
it's a silly argument that can easily be wiped out with one
Mhm.
filter I mean I don't know how easy it is, but
Well,
I would imagine it's going to take some programming licks and chops. But
yeah.
yeah,
And the thing is, like, this happens pretty consistently with Amazon. They'll do a crackdown on something having to do with ebooks, and a whole bunch of authors will get swept off in it that aren't like they don't have that issue or whatever, but they'll get swept away with it anyway. This happens every 5 years, maybe with Amazon. This, and what Amazon responds to is public pressure. That's really the only thing they respond to is public pressure. So,
this all stems from them not being transparent about their processes. I mean, that's the thing. They've kept so close to the vest, and I understand it. They don't want people to steal their idea, but they're so big now, it doesn't really matter. It's just,
but so many of Amazon's ideas are actually ideas that they've stolen from other companies.
Right. Well,
I totally get why they don't want to share any of that, because that, it's that whole, projection thing. I don't want you to do what I'm doing.
But a little bit of that would go a long way. I think
agree.
If they were to clarify their position on a few things, just little things, little tweaks, I think indie authors wouldn't have a pedestal to stand on.
This is going to sound terrible because, I mean, I appreciate Amazon. I really do. I really appreciate Amazon. There are certain rules I have about my own purchases on Amazon that I stick to. But, Amazon has been a huge boon for the indie author. And they have almost single-handedly
changed all our lives.
Yeah, they've legitimized self-publishing almost single-handedly. So, like, I owe them a lot of props, right? A lot of us do.
Yeah.
But they are not author friendly.
No.
They're really not. They will do what they think they can get away with. If they think they can get away with it, they'll try to do it. And then if they get pressure, if they get bad PR about it, they'll change it.
Yeah.
It's historical. It's typical.
And it's typical of big corporations in this country as well. They're following that model. Pretty to a T. We've got a lot of comments here.
Yeah, so y'all don't know. I was sick for the last week and a half, so that's why I got pushed back. Oh yeah, lucky.
I didn't mean it like that.
That's why I'm ragging on you about it, because I know you didn't.
But yeah, it wouldn't be a show with Joe in it if people didn't rag on me about stupid shit.
I only rag on people I like a lot, because if I don't like you a lot, I don't care enough to expend that effort. So, there it is.
Anita said, when I was in KU, I actually contacted them about a pirated copy of my book, and they told me not to worry. They've changed their tune since then.
See, so that has, I think, to do with, you'll get all kinds of different answers from Amazon, depending on when you message them. You can message them one day and get one answer, and message them another day and get another answer. And you can call them on the phone the third day and get a whole different answer. There's an issue with consistency, and with people who are answering the phones or responding to the emails who don't actually, or they think one thing, but the truth is this way, and, or the other way around. So, yeah.
Yeah, they train their people as well as they are being transparent about their processes.
Yeah.
Books by Tiffany says some may not even know that they are out there. Yeah, that's why.
I don't even check anymore. I don't even check. I don't have time in my life.
It's so ridiculous.
I just don't even bother. I just assume it's out there. I don't let it bother me. And if it becomes a problem, then I'll deal with the problem as it arises. But there's no way you can keep up with it. There's just no, like, you would spend 40 hours a week and still not get, sending out DMCA takedown requests, and you would still not get it. There would still be more.
At some point, the DMCA too is like, oh, you got to stop. You got to stop emailing us, please.
Yes. Yes.
I've actually had them say something like that to somebody I know. So, because they were like really policing it hard, and it was like DMCA is like, you just, you're spending so much time on this. Go right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. You won't have time. And the other thing is, you'll get so wound up about it.
Yeah.
You'll get so wound up about it that even when you do sit down to write, you may not even be able to work on it because you're going to be so distracted by this. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. And then Anita said they're driving indie authors to direct sales. And I'm hearing more and more. Who predicted that at the beginning of the year? Oh my gosh,
it was Joe. And also Karina and Joe, both of y'all. I mean, seriously. We all
I do
do.
too.
Yeah, we all do. Yep.
I love that you found the little penguin emoji. That's cool as shit. Yeah, they're
Um,
not the Borg.
no, you're not assimilated. I love targeted humor. Oh, hey, JD.
Hi JD, nice to see you, brother. And yeah, resistance is not futile.
Right. Amen.
But yeah, so I mean, there it is, everybody. There it's laid out. We really want to make sure that everybody knows that, you know, Amazon's aware.
Yeah.
I don't know beyond that where that stems or goes, but if you haven't signed the petition, go. If you
Yes,
feel
it's
inclined to do so,
down
I never
there.
would say do it, but yep, the link
Go
is
sign the
there.
petition.
Everything is there. You can also go give Torrent Freak some kudos because they really opened this
They,
story up and they did
they
an
broke it
excellent job of reporting it,
for
and
sure.
and they
Yes.
deserve a lot of credit for making this mainstream because I know a lot of websites that picked it up and moved with it. So
Yeah, but they
that's
broke
really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
hmm And that's really awesome. So uh, we're going to move into our next topic, which kind of goes along with the future of publishing a little bit. And there was a survey done right before, or I guess kind of during the pandemic ish. It was like near 20. It was between 2020 and 2021, really, toward the end of 2020, about the future of publishing. And then this company, let me get the company name right. Think it.
Submittable.
Thank you. Submittable took the
Mhm.
data and kind of flushed out a projection of sorts that will be what the trends will be and how it's going, how the marketplace is moving. And we thought it would be an interesting look at the idea because one of the things that they mentioned is that indies are going to be the future and benefit. Jeez.
Gonna be. We
But
were talking about this earlier, and I was
yeah.
just like, "What do you mean gonna be?"
And so some of I just wanted to rip through the bullet points of what they're strategizing here, and a lot of it, like we were talking off the air, seems a little dated, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But the idea is the growing impact of ebooks is driving market growth, and content publishing is becoming easier with the emergence of ebooks. The popularity of ebooks has increased significantly in the last few years and has increased the adoption of specialized e-reading devices such as iPad and Kindle. And it's easier to publish books in digital format when compared to printing. This in turn will increase the demand for publishing of ebooks during the forecast period. So basically, they're basically telling you what is already happening and has already happened, right? But I think what's significant about those numbers is the idea that the big five shit on ebooks right from the start. They have never embraced them, and what this report is telling them is you either get on board or you're you're going to be left behind. Because it's just keeps growing and growing and going up. So
Sorry. Sorry, go on.
Vanessa's having fun in the chat, I think.
Yes. I clearly can't type. So sorry, God, Joe. Sorry.
J- yeah, JD, but
Let's
put a
just do
funny
it.
article.
That's pretty much
Yeah,
what I said. I was like,
yeah.
this is
So,
like from
so
5 years
well,
ago. What are you talking about? Sorry.
they're building it up. So that's what they're trying to do with this thing. So this is how a forecast works, right? You go to the past to go to the present to go to the future, and so what they're talking about here, um, some of the growth is handheld, lightweight electronic devices such as Kindle is a threat to the popularity of traditional publishing. And that's one of the points we just talked about. And these factors will impede the market growth during the forecast period. So, and I don't want to go over all the other stuff because it really doesn't apply to us. It's all newspaper stuff and news, and so it really doesn't do anything. But the leading trends that are influencing the market are the number of indie and self-published authors, which is a key trend in this marketplace. Self-publishing enables indie authors to eliminate the risk of losing their rights, and we all know this. In self-publishing, authors can earn their, keep, 60 to 80%. Great. The rise in number of indie and self-published authors will increase the number of self-published titles. Gee, there's a statement if you ever.
This
Yeah.
is like, this doesn't seem like very current stuff.
So the whole idea of this, right, is so that in 20 it's where it's so to project where this will go, right? So as you see the key numbers in the demographics, like self-publishing continuing to grow, this is a graph that shows all of that. And then independent bookstores, and then audiobook adoption climbing, all of these things are key elements to what they say is going to grow into the billions and more billions of dollars that are projected here. The market size to grow by $19.2 billion into 2026, and that the marketplace that people should be looking at to target is the Asian Pacific marketplace, because that is the place where the most growth is taking place, and almost 2% growth in that marketplace, where everybody else is kind of leveled off or fallen down. And so I think these are important numbers in that respect for that idea. And you can see the little graph here. That's 63% of the growth will originate from the APAC, which is Asian Pacific marketplace. And then the your the growth difference will be about 19.2 billion. Let me just get about like 5 or 6 million of that. I'll be happy. The market is
I don't need
fragmented.
that much.
One of the key drive of the market will be the growing impact of ebook. And they mention, and yes, that is dated. That is a dated factoid, but what they're trying to say is that the ever evolving solutions of publishing are kind of dictating the marketplace right now. But what will dictate the marketplace in the future is that more and more people will be discovering this as countries that didn't have the luxury of ebooks before and things of that nature. And so I wanted to highlight this because I think you can target your marketing toward that strategy and kind of play into that a little bit, right? This also plays into, yeah, I'm giving, yeah, I am math again.
I know, he's like that.
But so the other thing about this is that it doesn't mention the things that are currently um, that kind of put a monkey wrench in it, like the pandemic and change issues from the pandemic also put a monkey wrench into the publishing industry. But also now we have this new player, and from what I understand, it would not surprise me that because of what we just talked about, the big five not embracing the ebook aspect of things and kind of looking at it and going, maybe we made a mistake a little bit, but we're gonna be tough guys and not say anything. We're just gonna hold our ground,
I mean,
even though we know deep down inside in the conversations we're having in private that we fucked up. We made a mistake. We should have been on this thing.
yeah,
So
but I mean,
now,
they were saying that like 5 years ago. Like
yeah,
they're. I think TradPub is fully on board with ebooks at this point.
yeah,
But
they're
they
still doing it badly. I know a lot of
no,
trad.
they're still trying to get paperback prices for ebooks. So
Yeah.
yes, they're still doing it badly, but they're on board with understanding the necessity of it now.
So this is where I think the pivot point for this conversation needs to go. And then I think that I would not be surprised to see the big five embrace a certain technology that we've all been dreading that is coming, or that we've all looked at and thought
Mm.
about. And that is the AI aspect of things. If they get out in front of that, they're looking at any pivot point they can to kind of stream past us again and make us illegitimate again, right? And so look at, you know, the reason I brought up numbers and these things here is because we embraced that and we prospered for embracing that. You know, it's not it's something we should be thinking about in terms of AI. Can we turn it on its head? Can we make it irrelevant if we want it to be irrelevant, right? And those are the kind of things that are going to dictate how this growth goes. I personally believe that. That's my personal belief. That's not truth or fact, but that's my personal belief is that how that's going to go. And so I think um we have an interesting couple years ahead of us. And
Yeah.
as the publishing industry evolves and Big Five tries to get their foothold back,
Yeah. I feel like as indie authors, I think we have to look at AI and try to figure out, because it's here. It's here. It's not going anywhere. Unless like governments suddenly outlaw it, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's growing at explosive rates. It's
Yeah.
insane. So it's here. So we have to figure out either how to ignore it or how to use it.
Yeah.
And I read an article, I don't know, sometime in the past, recent past, what is time even, where someone was talking about the best way for authors to use AI is to use it as like kind of one of your editorial passes, not
Mhm.
substitute for an editor, but if you do it, use it like one of your editorial passes. And I can see that. I mean, it would be no different really than using Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid or whatever. Um, but it could then potentially help you spruce up your writing a little bit, which in turn teaches you, how to spruce up your writing. So then maybe it's not as necessary. But I mean, the technology is here, so we have to decide. Each of us has to decide individually on. Yeah, I'm seeing that, Rebecca. And I'm trying really hard not to laugh at the faces Joe's making. But anyway, we all really need to decide individually how we're going to handle it, and what role AI it will have for each of us, if anything.
Yeah. I just want to make everybody aware that the conversation amongst the film festivals I've attended so far have all been driven about what are we going to do with this industry when AI starts to take over and
Mhm.
bring. There's not going to be long before we see an AI a movie that's made completely from an artificial intelligence source.
Sure.
It's
Yep.
not. It's going to happen, and you know I don't know. It's the film industry is kind of protective of its own, and the publishing industry has been kind of notorious for kind of segmenting its own a little bit. And I think this is a good time now that we're mobilized and that we're kind of in a legitimate space to kind of decide what we're going to do, right? So I know the comments are going out of control.
Yes.
Let's get through my yeah. Camp is its own worst enemy, but I bet they didn't predict that all ahead.
They cock block themselves every chance they get.
Yeah. JD says I'll be happy with 1 million. I don't need 1 billion. Yeah. Vanessa says 100K. Yes, you're late. How dare you? Uh, but hi, Rebecca. It's nice to see you. Joe is giving us math again. Yes, I already put
Damn,
that one.
Joe.
Yes. Who needs sense? Right. Yeah. Uh, that's not tough guys that keeping their heads firmly up their own aces. I guess I had to say that with an accent. Pivot, pivot. All right.
I feel like it's a drinking game now. Every time Joe
Yeah,
says pivot, you gotta.
pivot. I noticed the price drop sales for traditional ebooks lately.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I've noticed that a little bit too.
Same,
But they're still like ridiculously $6.99. I
same.
also know that we've kind of moved up a little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah,
I think $4.99 is the more traditional model now than the
in the
2.99
past.
or 99
Yeah.
cent. Which I'm happy about. I'll make an extra couple bucks on that.
Mine have been $4.99 always. I don't like unless I'm putting them on sale or something, but mine have always been $4.99.
My mom swears up and down that
I,
I'm not
I I was a
illegitimate.
bastard.
Oh yes, Anita, I keep googling eyes at Litfic ebook prices. Go over numbers for book sales of the past year. It's kind of stagnated a little bit because they don't. I think a lot of people aren't publishing those numbers simply because of the idea that pandemic hit us all very hard, and they don't
Mhm.
want to kind of compound bad news. So they're kind of giving you the little bits that are good news, like what genres are doing well, and
Mhm.
an idea like that. And also, I read an article today that will make a lot of people in this chat very happy. I read an article about how women have overtaken men in the publishing business, that there are 3 times more women publishing than men right now.
I mean, but that's actually been for quite a while. But,
Yeah,
but
I thought
on
so
the
too.
on the on the not executive level of trad publishing, but
Mhm.
also I think indie publishing has been dominated by women because romance readers were the first group of readers to embrace the ebook.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
so
And let's get those horror numbers up, because that's where the women are not represented very well, and we need to make that. The governments would outlaw it; they would make it grow even more. I'm good at ignoring it. I won't feed the machine.
it's the AI, yeah.
I'm not trying to ignore your comments. I'm trying to do a show, and then we'll get to the comments, as you can see. It's gonna crack. I just know it. Yeah, it's here to stay. The
Mhm.
fact AI art is all over stock photo sites now, and the whole Clark's World thing proves it.
Yep.
Grammarly and Word get
That's
drunk.
right. That's your AI editor.
Ha, 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 ha. You think that the AI movie will have too many fingers and super long necks too?
No, that's gonna be fixed very soon. Like that's gonna be fixed within, I would say, the next year, probably.
Bye, JD. Thanks for hanging out. Come and watch the show a little bit later. Drink more coffee, you'll be fine. 3 legs on all AI actors. Yeah, there you go. Uh, I'm not trying to get censored by
That's
YouTube right
about
off
the
the bat
aces.
content, so I
Yeah.
wrote aces in the chat. Funnily enough, I was just making math for authors the subject of a blog post.
You know, Bob Magoo does his monthly
Yep.
numbers posts, which are always really interesting.
Yeah. Book sales are flat for me. Yeah. See, I mean,
Same.
that's,
Yeah.
actually, it wasn't the worst sales period for books. I think 2021 was probably worse, but because that was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Well,
And
yeah, but ebook sales went up during the pandemic. It's now that
yeah,
we're coming out of the pandemic that they're tanking because people they're not at home as much as they were then.
but I contend that the indie bookstore really gained a resurgence from the pandemic a little bit, and sales have been up in indie bookstores, and a lot of them have resurfaced
Yeah.
and had a
Yeah, I think
really good run.
bookshop.org was a huge influence on
Mm,
helping to save indie bookstores.
absolutely,
Honestly.
absolutely.
So
I actually had an uptick in paperback sales in the last few months. Yeah. In terms of what the titles, name, sales, revenue, blah blah blah, on those last two, yeah, they haven't been hanging around the horror authors. I know most of them
same.
are. Yeah.
I think most of the older horror authors are men, but most of the upcoming horror authors are women.
Hmm.
Most of the horror authors I know are women.
Hmm.
I only know a few male horror authors.
I love the indie bookshops and libraries killing it on TikTok. Yeah. Uh, And I just love the fact that there's a place you can go and be represented. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of a neat idea. And indie bookstores have really always been, categorized as like the niche thing. And I think it's they're better than, you know,
Mhm.
although I contend if you're an indie bookstore and you don't have coffee brewing in the background, you're making a mistake. Because that smell is associated with bookstores, and I think you
That's
should,
true.
you know,
That's true.
even if you're not serving it to people, just as long as it's brewing in the background, I'll feel like I'm at home. So I'll be happy with that. So that's just that's just my personal thing. I know it's not for everybody, but
I agree. I think that's absolutely true. I think that's absolutely true. Coffee and books go together. I mean, books go with everything, really.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
along the lines of you know we've been hiatus and we've been delayed a little bit, and we want to send our love to Courtney Cannon, who's recovering from hysterectomy surgery,
Maybe don't share her
oh
medical
yeah, yeah,
stuff
sorry,
on
she's recovering,
or a
and
medical
so
procedure.
yeah, sorry, we're very we're very happy though that Madilynn Dale gave us correspondence. So she jumped in and did a special correspondence for us. She attended a conference, a speakers conference lately, that happened, and she's recapping it for us and giving us some tips that she learned from there. And I think it'll be beneficial for anybody who's trying to make their presence known online, and especially through video aspecting of things. So
Oh, I'd love to
here
roll with this.
yeah, so here is Madilynn Dale, our special correspondent for this weekend Idiots late night news.
Hey guys, Madilynn Dale here. I am dropping in tonight to share some helpful information that I took away from the recent speakers boot camp I attended. It was a 3-day long virtual boot camp where I got to meet a bunch of different authors, influencers, life coaches, podcasters, and of course, speakers. Anytime you get on a show, you're speaking to an audience. And there are a couple things you should consider when doing that. One of the things they put some emphasis on was your image, the image you portray to your audience. Look at the background of where you're going to be talking. Is it light, like it is for me? Is it dark? I mean, what color is the background? And in doing this, consider what outfit you're wearing. You want to wear something that's going to make you pop and stand out so people can see you and you won't blend into the background. And doing different recordings or batch recordings for like TikTok, for example, change the outfit you're wearing, change it up, make a difference, make sure that one video you can distinguish it easily from the next, and put a little bit of effort into it. Throwing that change in there can affect how the audience focuses on you. It kind of it's almost like a palate cleanser if you think about it. Another one that is kind of a fun one, and I don't know if you can apply this to online book sales, but you probably could figure it out. But it was BOGO. And normally that is buy one, get one. But in this case, it is buy one, gift one. Now, the author that shared this idea, she uses it a lot when she goes to speaking events or like cons when she's on panels. And she encourages people that come up to buy a book to buy a second one to donate to a charity. And she takes the books and gives them to this charity. If you didn't want to buy one for the charity, you could buy one for another friend. She told a story of how she had somebody come up to her to buy books after a speaking event. And she shared this concept with them, this deal with them. And the person bought a whole box of books to donate. And I thought it was really cool. Another one is that I want you to remember that emotions are another form of communication. People remember how they felt more often than what you said. I mean, that's not always true because sometimes they will remember what you said, but it's not a given. They'll remember the feeling you evoked in them more often than what you said. So consider that when you're doing a speaking event, when you're doing a video recording. Consider how it's going to make people feel. Like if somebody gets angry at something you said, maybe speaking on a panel, on maybe controversial topics, yeah, they're going to learn something from the panel, but they're also, more than anything, going to remember how it made them feel. And that's going to make a difference. Maybe they're going to go out in the world and do something to keep them from feeling that anger towards you again. Hopefully not something bad, obviously. Also, another thing, which I think a majority of us do anyway, is to make sure you have your website link in the back of all of your work, whether it be digital or paperback. Make sure it's there. It's going to be the easiest way for people to find you. Also, this one hit me really hard because I kind of tend to overload myself. Remember, when you say yes to one thing, you have to say no to another thing. There's only so many hours in the day and you can only do so much. So consider what you say yes to and how that's going to affect your schedule or other things that may come up. Because you can't say yes to being at a con, for example, in another state on the same day you've told your son or your child or somebody who's having a birthday party that you were going to be there. You can't do both. Also, networking is important. Remember, anywhere you go, you're going to be networking. You're going to be meeting other authors, other publishers, other podcasters, speakers, whatever you do. Networking is important. And that's how we build our audiences. That's how we build our readership. Network, and build those relationships. Tend to those relationships. Now, I'm not saying have a acquaintanceship, friendship, whatever, with every single newsletter follower, for example. But don't just ignore those relationships. Be considerate of what you put out there and meet other authors or meet other creatives in your field. You can learn so many different things when you're chatting with other creatives on a regular basis. Another thing is to take your time to plan things, for example, your TikTok stuff. If you're going to do a batch recording for TikTok videos, plan what you're going to do in each video. Write it out. Do a bullet point list. Or if you're going to do a live chat, like I do with author Amanda Warren on Tuesdays, write up a short thing of what you guys are going to talk about. Just do it in the chat, in your Facebook chat notifications or email. Get a plan beforehand so it goes smoother and you're not just sitting there staring into the camera with dead time. Viewers don't like that. Something else that I practice a lot is trust your intuition. Trust your heart. If you feel like you need to be doing something or writing a certain topic, go for it. And my final thing to add is to be aware of who you pitch yourself to. If you're scrolling through Instagram looking for people under the hashtag podcasters or podcast, something like that, research them before you message them. Don't send them a message saying, hey, I would love to be on your podcast. I'm the author of such and such book. And their podcast is not about anything related to books. It's not related to anything about creative. Do the research. And it's the same for any YouTuber. You want to be on their show? Research. Just go pull up a couple of episodes in their past and watch them so you know how it goes. How the flow of things work. An example is Go Indie Now's Indie Mayhem show. If you're going to pitch yourself to them, go check out some of the past shows to see what it's about, how they do things, and it'll make it a lot easier in the long run. I hope you'll take this information and add it to your toolbox. And also, thank you for letting me crash the show. Enjoy the rest of the night, guys. Remember, it's always time to go indie now.
Thank you to Madilynn Dale for that wonderful report.
That was awesome. It was funny. It was the little list of the stuff she does, author, whatever. Her last ones are like freelancer mom. And I was like, oh, I could use a freelancer mom sometimes. What are your rates? What are your rates, Madilynn?
I will say on the last point, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was done.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say on the last point, when you respond to me, I have one minor pet peeve, and Venessa probably even knows this, but when you say I want to be on your podcast, I don't run a podcast. It's not a podcast. Okay, I have several different shows. They're broadcasts. They're not podcasts. It drives me crazy when people say it's a podcast.
Get it right.
I get the semantics of it. It is technically a podcast, but I do several different things that I call them broadcasts.
It's not a podcast. The podcast is audio.
Not necessarily. No, it can be video too. But But yeah, there's
because he needs more to do. Great idea, Rebecca.
As you said, I'm the godfather of networking, so I gotta keep networking. So I'm not gonna repeat the conversation that was going on in the chat while Maddie was talking about pants and shirts and things. But y'all can read that in your own leisure if you'd like. Scroll back up and watch it.
It was quite amusing.
Yes, it was very amusing. But thank you, Madilynn Dale, for that. That was awesome. That was really cool. And don't worry, CL Cannon will be back next month with another marketing tip. And we'll frequently have Madilynn come in and do special reports on stuff as well. So she's going to be attending a lot of things. So yes, I've taken to correcting myself and calling it a show. Yeah. And I still won't wear pants. Okay, that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's very nice. So we wanted to end tonight doing a little bit of an editorial, not so much a story because it's not really a story. It's all bullshit, to be honest. But so the cancel culture part of our society. The anti-railers against cancel culture, I should say,
who are the ones who actually do the cancel culture.
Right, exactly.
Hilarious.
Right. The ironies are abound in this conversation for sure. But they made a big stink and they made a big protest to Netflix because Netflix owns the Roald Dahl's Society's library, basically, to make shows and make things out of it. They gifted that to Netflix. Well, actually, they paid for it, but Netflix paid a nice pretty penny for it. But the idea was that they went after Netflix because some wording was changed, some titles were changed, and it was actually they were aiming there for
it was updated for the times.
And yes, and their fury was misguided as usual because they spit at Netflix, and it wasn't Netflix who made this choice. It was actually Roald Dahl's library, whatever consortium, whatever you call it,
his estate.
Yeah, his estate that made the choice to do this, and they do it quite frequently, from what I've read. So it's not something that's new for them. It's just new that it's being pointed out because God forbid we don't have anything to bitch about, right? And so there is there is this idea that it's like some of the things that they've done and changed ruins the contextual you know integrity of the artists, what the artist intended to write from the beginning, right? Which is again nonsense. But you know, so we're going to talk about this, and we'd love to have your feedback on it as well. And we're going to rail. This is all us. I should
We're
mention
just
that
bitching.
these opinions do not reflect that of Go Indie Now or its affiliations, and this is not news. This is us talking. Uh, but I want to do this more because we talk about this a lot off air, and so I thought it would be fun to incorporate it since it's a slow news month and do that. And so, you know, I want to mention that I'm sure you've all heard the story, especially people in the chat now have heard the story about when I started publishing and I was a self-published author. I found a niche in Germany where crime thrillers were very popular, and I decided I was going to go after that marketplace, and I did quite well in doing so. And it was a big debate of whether to translate it into German or into English, and translating is very expensive for people who don't know that. But I was told by the publisher that I got in touch with and coordinated with and made a deal with that they would just do it in English. But we had to change some key phrases and key words because in German, the way that they sound, the sounds that they make when people read them are offensive. And there was some things in there that I had to actually I had to rewrite a couple sentences, which probably was helpful anyway because my book was poorly edited, so it doesn't. So it was probably for the better
It
anyway,
was a needful thing.
right? But you and I had no problem. I felt like that was sure that sounded like a reasonable request to me, I think we put so much emphasis on the artist's integrity. You know, Again, I hear this a lot from independent authors, especially about how I'm never going to let control of my stuff get out of control. If I'm selling it to a film, they're going to do this and they're going to do this and they're going to if they're going to make it into a movie or they're going to make it into a TV show, they're going to include this, they're going to include that. You know what? They're not going to include any of that. They're not going to take any of your suggestions. I mean, I can't rail against that enough. You know, you're handing it to somebody else to interpret art, and what they do with it is their choice. The original text will always be there so that people can make those comparisons, and in most of those cases you'll win out. People will be on your side and go, yeah, I can't believe they cast Taylor Lautner in that role. I can't believe Michael Keaton's not playing Batman anymore. You know all of those things, right? And all
Mhm.
those things that people just like to rail against and complain about. And so and you'll win because hey, the book is always better than the movie,
Mhm.
right? And so in this case, it is very similar. It's just if you want to read the original text, go to a library. The 1980 book that is probably falling apart as we're talking, and some young kid picked it up and read it, has all the original text in it. They can't change any of that now. I mean, maybe the library can throw it away, and it probably should because it's probably moss infected, and
Okay, you're getting way off
yeah,
topic
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, so that's there's my 2 cents. I'm gonna let Vanessa jump in and take this over. But yeah, I mean,
Unsurprisingly, I agree with you. Like to me, there are always updated editions. You update things to, to help reflect or help integrate with the times. Like there's a reason that we don't write things the same way they wrote in the 1800s because things have changed.
yeah,
Not just technologically, but societally.
yeah,
We do things much differently now than we did then, which is why we don't write stories that way. If an author or an author's estate wants to make changes to update something to a more modern vernacular or a more, socially acceptable way of expressing something, that is their prerogative.
mhm.
Period. You don't get to say, as an outsider, as a reader, that you know what the author's intention was better than their freaking estate, which is usually their family who actually physically knew the person.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. How much more egotistical and entitled can you possibly be? All right, there's my rant.
Yeah. And the ultimate irony, and I mentioned this off air, the ultimate irony is if in 5 years, if nobody had touched these books and left the social integrities that they have in them in there, they would have been banned or burned by the same group that is chastising them for changing it. You know,
Most likely,
again,
sure. Yeah.
ironies abound. You know, and yes, I am fun when I get worked up.
He's so cute.
A.F. Stewart says the Goosebump books stirred the controversy a little too because it comes to light that some of the publishers' update a few years ago were made without the author's knowledge.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
that is actually an issue.
Yeah.
You know, that is not a cancel culture non-issue.
Yeah,
That is an actual issue.
the book is not. Oh, you very true. Very true.
But it usually is.
Yeah. The thing is you don't want it messed with. Don't sell the rights and don't make money.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Physically new, you dirty girl.
Well, you know me. You know
But
me.
yeah, so I mean that's that was a quick rant. We got it out of our system.
You're better.
But yeah, I do too. But yeah, I mean, it's just look.
Some people just aren't happy unless they're bitching. They're just not happy unless they're unhappy. That's how they find their joy in their unhappiness.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's artistic integrity is getting destroyed by this. You know that we're talking about the most innocent of changes too. We're not talking about changing characters' genders or doing anything like that. All we're talking about is just removing some words that are,
problematic,
offensive or not appropriate anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, just get over it. Get over it, people. And then, so as I often like to do, and this drives Venessa crazy,
but not this time because I already know.
I'm dropping you all a little teaser. I am wearing this shirt for a very specific reason. This is the multiverse shirt that I bought, which I think is just fucking spectacular.
All our shirts are awesome.
Yeah, this one though in particular. This is the one I fought for. I voted for this one, and then everybody else voted for the damn dragon one. And I said, and then Jesse said, "Well, we're going to make both of them." And I said, "Yes." So I voted for this. I'm very happy to have it.
Sorry, Rebecca wants to know: is it because you're not wearing pants? I love you so much.
No.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Well, you'll never know the answer to that question. But the answer to this question will be revealed as to why I was wearing this shirt and why we're talking about it this Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific or Mountain Time, and 6 p.m. Pacific. And remember, everybody, that we're moving an hour ahead on Sunday, but which is just ridiculous as well. Don't get me started on that rant. But the chairs of Multiverse will be, which are Jesse Adams and Allison Charlesworth, will be Vanessa's special guests for a conversation and a cocktail. And they're going to talk to you about why they're on Go Indie Now and what is going on with Multiverse and Go Indie Now. And it's something very, very exciting. And, and so tune in for that. Definitely go check that out. Thank you for joining us and having conversations with us tonight. I know the news was a little light, but I think we had fun nonetheless.
It's okay that we don't always have huge, heartbreaking, difficult stories. I'm good.
Yeah. The less research I have to do, the better, I think.
Same.
Because as Rebecca pointed out, I'm the godfather of networking, and I got to get back to networking. So, that being said, Venessa?
Joe, it's always time to go indie now.